Afternoon, guys. My name's Joe. I'm co-founder and director at Proof3. So Proof3 are essentially we're a data-driven growth agency. So we work with the likes of Jaguar Land Rover, British Heart Foundation, Autoglim, kind of quite a lot of different sectors, to be honest, but primarily e-commerce and typically Adobe Commerce and Shopify customers.
Cool. I'm Ilan. I head up the data and CRO. I'm also a co-founder and director with Joe. From a service point of view, we're well known for conversion rate optimization, PPC, data visualization, and what we really focus on is delivering growth on your website and tangible growth without the fluff, basically. So let's get straight into it. So we're going to do 4 hacks. We probably could have done 10. Anyone that knows me knows we could have probably done about 30. So we'll go through 4 hacks that we feel are quite relevant at the minute in the current landscape.
So yeah, I guess just firstly to set the scene, CRO is obviously a term that everyone's going to be familiar with, and everyone's got very different perceptions of what CRO is as well. So conversion rate optimization, yeah, it's it's testing on websites, but ultimately it's much more than just testing the color of buttons on websites. Although we do some of that.
It's a terrible example, but yeah.
But really, when we're talking about CRO, what we look at is more it's customer experience optimization. So it's not just what's going on your website. For example, we've worked with clients where we've done testing around their delivery proposition and sample orders, and it spans into and covers offline as well. I think ultimately though, if you're going to invest in CRO, and I guess show of hands actually, if there's how many people, retailers in the room, are running CRO programs in some capacity at the minute? Anyone out there? Cool. So, as you'll probably know, it's a lengthy process, but really the good news is that, done right, with the right program in place, it's free money because it should never cost you anything. It's always going to deliver an uplift. Like that's the reality of it. So, really, all we're going to talk about today is, as quite a few of the guys have already alluded to on the stage today, is just how we can maximize the traffic that you've already got coming through to your website.
I think Liam made some really good points before, and just thinking all that money people are spending on acquiring traffic to the site, and when it just gets there and it doesn't convert, it's just a waste. It's just gone. It's £1 or £1 million, depending on your budget, just gone. So make the most of it. And when we talk about CRO, there's many, many different metrics, but the real levers at the heart of the operation come down to really these 5 metrics: sessions, which is obviously people visiting the website, whether it's new or return, your conversion rate, your transactions, AOV, and revenue. And as we look down the list, you can see, and Liam's slides were really good in also showing this, but when you start to just tweak small metrics within and leave the session count exactly the same, it has a huge impact on revenue, like substantial. And we're talking about very, very small gains in small shift in conversion rate, a small shift in AOV. Using the right program and the right methodologies can deliver massive returns in revenue. And these are obviously just an example, 100,000 sessions.
So just a little, here's one we built earlier. So we've actually got our own calculator. So links on there, if you want to come and grab it off us afterwards, that's absolutely fine. But really all we've done is just built a little tool for you to go off and model some of the numbers and look at how affecting some of those key levers, the uplift that it could deliver you guys with the numbers you're running through your own websites.
Cool. And when we talk about the main gains, there's lots of other secondary gains of CRO. But I suppose one of the biggest, and I'll start with number 4, is more bang for your buck on your ad budget. If you're spending all this money to acquire traffic to your website, you don't really understand what that traffic's doing. You don't really understand the intent of the user in a lot of cases. So make the most of your budget. It helps lower your cost per action because of all the things all the other speakers have talked about before, but improving site speed, improving customer journey and relevancy is really, really important. Lifetime value, of course, and ultimately what everybody's after is increased revenue from their website, making sure the ROI is there.
So first of all, we're going to look at relevancy, so ad relevancy. So again, Liam's already touched upon this in his last talk, really interesting. We're going to come about it in maybe a slightly different way, but hopefully no one in the room from Wayfair, by the way, before I launch into this. But let's just have a look at some of the expectations set from this Google ad. So I've done a search looking for some new furniture. Promise me the world, so hassle-free returns, everything there sounds great, easy to find everything you've ever wanted.
It's a very promising ad.
Ideal. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go through. So, first of all, I met with a pop-up to enter my email address. So it's it's not really quite everything you ever dreamed of, is it, when all of a sudden you've got a barrier there straight away. Now, this is obviously quite an extreme example.
It's a real journey, though.
But it is, no, it's a genuine journey, but it's, it's obviously, there's no parity there with what they've promised in the ad copy itself. So I think it's kind of, you're probably going to hear this many times today, but you can't really underestimate the importance of the relevancy of your ads, because I'm sure most of you in the room are running ads. For context, I think most of our clients, typically revenue figures would be anywhere between 40 to 70% of their revenue is coming through paid ads. So it's massive. It's propping up their business in lots of cases. So it's just, it might sound obvious, but genuinely it's about making sure that you've got that parity, the language is similar, the experience is consistent when you've gone through from the ad. Because I'm sure lots of you, again, will be running shopping ads, you might be running PMAX, you might be running search, and each one's got a slightly different landing page experience, but it's making sure that you are taking people through to to a really well optimized page.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses as well and companies run a lot of their ads through agencies or third parties, and I genuinely ask you to test these journeys and look through them, because it's one that's really easily forgotten about, but it's also one that is critical in making sure that the user is met with a similar journey that they started with. Improve the relevancy of your ads to your landing pages. It's very, very simple, but so easily missed.
So just an example, one of our customers, they do gym equipment, but again, really simple example, but they do power racks and cages, and it's everything. They've got the star ratings there, but perfect, all the other tick boxes. But really, all this was just an exercise, because they were having issues with their overall return. They were having issues with their bounce rate, actually, to go back to the metric that again that Ilan was talking about. So all we did here was just make sure we did a sort of an exercise. The pay team did an exercise to go through every single one of their ads and look at and double check the landing page experience. So in this case, obviously it's going through to category page, and we've got that option because it's a search ad, but you can't see everything on that page there. But further down the page, there's more context and more content about the power racks and cages that they offer as well.
Cool. And then secondly, I think this is one that is also missed out quite a lot on websites. It's underutilized, overutilized, and there's a good way and a bad way of doing it. And this is probably definitely not one way to do it. And this is social proof and authority. It's huge, and it's really, really important to gaining a user's confidence in your store, in your products, in your brand. So I begin my search on Google, and I have it on good faith. I think that is someone typing on the keyboard, correct me if I'm wrong. But this brand is Butler, and they sell a variety of different clothing items. It's actually a really, really nice website, personally. I mean, that's my own personal opinion. Lots of information, lots of rich history of the brand. It looks great. Look, 75 years of this, 90 years of passion. It's like the ads before. It sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah. Awesome. But where are the reviews? And not one point have I seen any touch point with social relevancy, authority at all. So me being the type of person that I am, and this is genuinely me, I went back to Google. I genuinely would do this. Went back to Google to try and look for some information, some social proof, some authority. Are they a good company to purchase from? And this trips so many businesses up. So I found this Trustpilot page on Google. Is one of the top links in Google, and this is possibly one of the reasons why they have no reviews, but I'm pretty sure they're not really doing anything about this. So ultimately, they've lost my business, because 59 reviews and 2 stars is a terrible expectation to set for a user, especially. The thing is, this was well within their control to take ownership of this, and I don't mean using Trustpilot. There's so many other options out there, like Reviews.io is probably one of the best ones. Reviews, they're in the room. Because you can take control of this, even if it's with cherry-picked aggregated reviews. Start somewhere simple and make the most of this, but really do engage with a decent reviews platform and make the most of this, because it's critical that the correct amount of social proof is employed. And that also leads into things like user-generated content, which are really, really good ways of showing people using your products in action. It helps give relevance as well to people that might be purchasing it. It helps give scale, size, depending on what you're selling as well. So it's definitely worth investing in this. And it's something that when we run our CRO programs is quite high up on our list because in almost all cases, it's done incorrectly. And I'm not just talking about desktop here. Mobile is probably more critical than anything. And sharing reviews in such a small space is very, very hard to do right. So test and test away is what I would say to you. Cool. Here's a really good example of one of our clients, Just Campers. They do use Trustpilot, and they've got, what's it say there, 31,000 reviews. They've got a really nice automation workflow around how their reviews are captured, but they're really well presented, very, very simple, and it's straightforward and obvious. They've worked really hard to gain these reviews, by the way, guys. You don't just gain 31,000 reviews. But the way it's presented and how they go about getting their reviews is really important. When this also scales down to mobile, it presents a really, really nice, simple experience. But this is genuinely something that's fire and forget. Once a user's seen it, it's highly unlikely they're going to start scrolling through reviews. So it's almost like a checkpoint thing that you just need to have. Users see it and they move on to the next step. Cool.
So yeah, next one, it says there, inform, not overwhelm. So we've all been on websites, and we're about to pick on one in a second, where you're overwhelmed with too many pop-ups or too many like sign up for newsletters. Like it's very easy to kind of overwhelm the user. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're not saying don't use pop-ups, not use overlays, because obviously there's a time and a place for it. They're great, but it's about creating that sense of urgency and giving them a dynamic experience. But in such a way that it's I guess that it's engaging. But so if we just move on to pick on probably a site that everyone's come across fairly recently, maybe at some point. But
is this your search history?
So,
trendy bikinis,
I mean, that was me doing my summer holiday shopping, I think. So Shein, I never know how to say it. Shein. So yeah, like I've done my summer holiday shopping. I'm seeing, okay, great. I'm going to click in some trendy bikinis. Looks right up my street.
yeah, right on your street, mate.
No comment.
Cool.
So.
Oh, I was joking. It was actually a real one that you searched for.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Genuine, mate.
Great.
So it should load in a second. It's just having a little think about it. So yeah, immediately I've got a headache, to be honest. So up to 70% off, £3 off, free shipping. Obviously there's a lot going on that page. It's very busy. And don't get me wrong. Again, this is an extreme example because Shein is kind of their model, and they, that's what they're going for. But I think everyone can see there, like, kind of, it's pretty overwhelming. So to me, and everyone's different demographics interact differently. But to me, I've turned out after 10 seconds. I'm numb to the discounts because there's just so many. They're just throwing so many at me. But perhaps I'm being a little bit harsh. So I also found out, they do cable. So great, I'm after a new cable. Keep going, have a click through, let's have a look at a product page.
Nice cable.
Yeah, so, again, I think I've got £3 off there. It'll load in a second. There's another delivery.
You got 5% off there if you join the Shein Club as well.
Yeah, new users, free shipping on $9.99 plus. There's so much going on. There's 70% off summer styles, 15% for students. Like, I'm pretty sure at that point they're paying me to use their site because they're just throwing that much at me.
They must be. Have you still got your student discount as well?
Sadly, that's expired, mate.
Okay, cool.
So I think just to give you a kind of, I guess, just a sleek, clean example of someone using Salesfire and the digital assistant, one of our customers, Wood2U, see there, it's pretty simple in terms of what they're doing, but it's on brand, it fits in, and it's importantly, it's easy to close as well, and that goes down to mobile as well, like you were saying, Ilan, which is obviously an important aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly. This stuff, right? Especially with overlays, it should be simple, but it should also, you've got to think of the user's intent. If you just start throwing overlays on a website, and if I see a pop-up within 30 seconds, like, it's already being X'd off, no matter what you're selling me, because I'm always thinking, further down the line, you're probably going to give me another discount. Yeah. I'm going to add something to my basket. I'm going to leave it 4 hours, and I know you're going to give me another 30% off somewhere down the line. So if you lead with this DFS-style mentality where there's always a discount, it's very, very difficult to really show any perceived value in that discount. When you use overlays correctly, especially Salesfire's overlays tools, there's so many ways you can trigger an overlay based on intent, based on how the user interacts, their frequency, the time of day. These features are so simple to interact with, but so powerful, and it beats that whole 10% off typical Shopify pop-up that comes up within 5 seconds of me landing on a website that everybody's numb to now, and it creates that banner blindness kind of bias.
I think just to add to that really quickly as well, like we've tested it where it's like you don't need to give that discount. So like you're giving away discounts to people that are going to buy from you anyway. Like you can segment that, you can cut.
Exactly, yeah. Look at their intent. Make sure that you understand where that user's come from, what they're doing. Like don't just give that money away to people. It's and it's really really important just to if you take anything away from this, just make sure there's no pop-ups in the first 30 seconds of someone landing on a website. We've tested this to death, and it just really does not do very well for the user journey, especially when you're paying to acquire that traffic. They already have some intent. They already have some pre-qualification because they're in a shopping journey. So just let them do their shopping.
Just conscious of time as well, so we'll just go through this one fairly quickly, but just last one. So we do testing on sites and we use software to do that, but sometimes for a variety of reasons it's not feasible to run testing programs on your site. Might be because you're in feature lockdown, can't get sign off on new tools or codes, or just dev access. But so there's other ways though, which is the point in this. So we do a lot of testing with focus groups, and the beauty of that really is that you can, as it says there, you can steer the line of questioning towards very specific areas, but also you can make sure it's tailored to your demographics as well. So that can give you really valuable insight without even need to, put that testing, do a program through your website.
Exactly, it's a very cost-effective way of gaining information as well, and you can build demographics around the types of users that visit your website if you already have information on the personas or the psychographics. So here is an example of a company that was in a development lockdown during a very, very busy period of sale. Very, very quickly, by show of hands, 1, 2, and 3. Everybody participate in this, please. Who thinks number 1 was the winner? Okay. Number 2? Number 3? Amazing. I love doing this every time.
It's always 3.
So 100%, I could understand why everyone chooses number 3, because I probably also agree with number 3. The true winner of this result, of this test, was actually number 1. And the more I think about it, and the more we look at this, and the more we speak to the users that responded to these surveys, I think, depending on your age specifically, we're kind of used to shadow and inner shadows on interactive elements on websites, whereas kind of like how Apple's evolved and this kind of 2D flat design has changed the kind of way we think, and we are used to UX, but their demographic especially responded very, very well to this design. Also, one of the really key pieces of information is, and I'm sorry for any lefties in the room, but obviously the majority of users are right-handed, having those elements on the right-hand side so you don't have to do this awkward crabby thumb thing to try and get to the menu was key in this test as well, making sure that the menu was the first thing that was easy to get to. If they don't want to search, and they want to seek and have a look around the website, it's really, really easy for them to drop into the menu. Whereas on this one, you can imagine me having to physically change to my finger or index finger to press that menu. So that's the reason why this test won. Cool. 2 really quick slides here on very shameless plug of through free, but one thing that we're really passionate about is trying to avoid this fragmentation effect that you get when you work with agencies. When you work with different companies, especially between PPC and CRO, you tend to see there's a disconnect. Sometimes you have a standoff between agencies. Hopefully that doesn't happen if you guys use agencies. But information sharing is very, very slow. It's not very good. Methodologies differ as well, especially when you've got data that's involved in PPC or using analytics, and people are looking at data differently. But ultimately, it lacks accountability because it can be traded off between the 2 agencies or 3 agencies. Our agency model is designed to adopt a single point of contact for everything. So every client we work with has a client success manager with one strategic direction of travel. We have information sharing, project planning solutions that we always use throughout our projects with standard operating procedures tailored to every single business. Because that's the way to grow. You have to have a roadmap. You can't just throw money at a company and say, give me marketing. And we even turn away companies like that for that reason. And ultimately, you don't lose accountability, because accountability is the hardest thing to maintain when you've got multiple agencies working in a project, and it ends up being on your head, really. And this is just a quick overview of how we work. So our services across the top, some buzzword stuff here, Gen AI, product and search, paid acquisition, SEO and Conversion XL, which is our conversion platform. But what's really important is this core piece, which we include in every single project as almost like a value add, but it's core to what we do. So we maintain and take complete ownership of cookie management, goals and tags, analytics management, feeds, reporting, and obviously assign a strategist to every single account we work with. I suppose the key thing is, this is all the stuff no one wants to do.
Oh, yeah, in a nutshell, all the stuff that no one ever really wants to do.
Yeah. So we try and take ownership of it. And thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.